pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, as you can see, we have several members that are unable to be here because of illness, surgery, etc. The mayor is sick, Mr. D'Agostino is sick, Mr. Gormley is sick, Ms. Azak is getting over from surgery, and Mr. Sullivan is unavailable due to an out-of-state commitment. So, we technically do not have a legal quorum, so we cannot vote on anything this evening. However, we will, so basically we will table the items in the consent agenda that need to be voted upon for the next, and we'll add those to the first meeting of the month in January. And then we will, however, listen to communications and reports from the superintendent and the issues going on in the school. And then we will discuss any items that need to be discussed without voting on any items. And we will adjourn and go to the holiday concert, which will be wonderful this evening. So, I am just going, I'm not even going to make a motion because we can't motion. We're just going to table the consent agenda for the next meeting, and we'll start with communication. Report to the superintendent of schools. Madam Superintendent.
And Vice Chair, you did mention Joyce Azak under communication. I want you to know that I did speak with her directly today. She is recovering from surgery. She's doing well. She wishes everybody a wonderful holiday season and really looks forward to being back here after the first of the year, so I want to wish her well. Also, I'd like to ask everybody to have a moment of silence for firefighter Christopher Roy from Worcester. I'm sure those of you that have followed the news, and Worcester has been, more than just another school district. It's really been a partner with us in so many ways during this past year, looking at equity in education. We had the opportunity, a number of us, to go to Worcester, met Mayor Petty there. I will be sending him a condolence notice from all of us, expressing our sympathy on the loss of firefighter Roy. I know he was buried and honored this past Saturday, I think it was this past weekend. So I'd like to ask everybody again to keep him in your prayers. I think it's important for all of us to realize just this past October, we honored our firefighters in Brockton. It was an anniversary of their union, Local 144. We honored them for all their collaboration. They work with us on so many things for safety and security, along with our Brockton Police Department. We are so fortunate, and we see how quickly something like this can happen, a tragedy. And again, I want to offer our condolences to the Brockton Fire Department, and I'm sure they know that we support them in all that they do. So thank you. On a much happier note, I would like to recognize a name that is going to be familiar to you. So just about probably a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, we had one of our teachers from the Davis School, John Jake O'Neill, who teaches at the Davis, and he was the donor of a kidney. And we honored him and talked about it, and Jake came back to work and ready to go, and was thrilled to have the kids and the staff welcome him back, and to congratulate him on giving of himself in such a very special way. So we were recently notified, and I'm going to ask Jake to come up, and I see Principal Darlene Campbell in the audience. Darlene, would you please join us at the mic? So Principal Campbell was informed on December 5th that her teacher, John Jake O'Neill, was named a National STEM Scholar in 2018. He was one of 10 middle school science teachers selected this year from a pool of more than 200 applicants in 37 states. He's going to have opportunities to take advantage of additional professional development, I think some of it through Harvard's School of Education. So I'm sure that, again, you will all join me in congratulating one of our teachers who has always certainly been a scholar for our students in our school community. So first, I'd like to ask Principal Campbell to talk a little bit about Jake and his work at the Davis School, and then I'd like to ask Jake to talk to us a little bit about this wonderful honor.
Push, okay. Now it's on. Good evening. When the newspaper came, well, I had notified Michelle, and then the newspaper came to ask some things about Jake. And they were shocked when I said, well, he used to be a geological engineer. Unbelievable career. Very, very involved in geology, which I knew nothing about. But I knew him back then because our kids went to the same school in Abington. And then he wanted to change careers because his wife is also an engineer. But she was doing one path, and he was the mainstay. And then when she attained what she needed to do, he said, now I need to do what I really want to do, which is teach. And I said to the newspaper, I thank God every day that he decided to change and go into teaching. I think every school needs a Jake. The kids love him. He does unbelievable stuff. I don't care if you ever want to drop by, you go up to his room, and there's always something special going on. He got these robots, and we're going to expand this a little bit because you folks were kind enough to give us some extra money, which we're going to expand and do an after-school program that Jake's going to be part of. So I thank you very much for that allocation. But he's got the kids, and these are not scholars. You know, that's what I give him so much credit for. These are kids that just love working with their hands, and they get it with, oh, I want to make this, do this, that, and the other thing, and they're coding, and they're making it go with, you know, wherever they set their mind to. So he's wonderful, and he's very deserving of this. And when he went for this honor and then got it, and then spent a week in Kentucky and came back so enthusiastic. So I'm very proud of him. The school's very proud of him. So the kids love him, the teachers love him, and I thank goodness for him every day.
Jake, can you tell us a little bit about this? We're very excited.
Well, thank you for having me here, and thank you. I have something to live up to now, I guess. Yeah, it was a great opportunity. I was in Western Kentucky for a week. During the school year, I think I was the only one whose school year was still going on. Everyone else from Georgia and South Dakota and Arizona, their school years ended a lot earlier. But it was a great opportunity to be with teachers from all over the country and get other ideas on how to teach and how to touch kids, and at the same time be reminded that kids are just kids. There's kids in every school system in the country that, you know, just need someone to notice they're there and give them an opportunity. And the robots have given me that chance to you know, give them something else to do that's not, you know, memorizing the definition of mitochondria or the other things that are in science that may not be as much fun. So as part of the National STEM, we got grant money that I used to buy robots. One of them are small, called Ozobots, and the other one's the big ones you can build, and they both run off the same basic software, so you can program them in the same way. So we're working on the smaller ones first, and then we're going to move up to the big ones and hopefully use them to send messages between the classrooms and our 7th grade pod, and maybe expand that to see if it works. But there's ways to program so if something gets in the way, they return home.
Hoping he's going to have his robots to greet people the day at the Davis. So hopefully, Superintendent Mr. Minicello, if you drop by, you'll be greeted at the front door on that special day by one of his robots and led to a classroom. I didn't tell you that one yet.
Oh, a little challenge. But it's good. And the one reason I like to do it is because, like she said, it's not always the kids who get straight A's in classes that really take off in this. And we're doing it today, and kids were programming it, and I wanted them to take the robot and program it so it would just draw a square and use the code to go up the same distance, take a right, take a right, take a right, and then add some lights to it. And there was one kid who's a solid C student when he really tries hard. Behavior problem now and then is wandering around the classroom, and he's decoding the problems. He's looking at other kids' codes and going, "Oh, this is wrong. This is wrong." And I pointed it out to him that he had all of a sudden he was looking for the problems, and he loved it. He was really enjoying it. So that's the opportunity that this has given me to give these kids, and hopefully we, like Mrs. Campbell said, do it as an after-school program. So expand it to beyond just the 7th grade in our school.
Well, we're very proud of you, and I think the most important thing, as you said, it excites kids who might not have even thought of this, and this could turn into, you know, something in the sciences, in a field, with technology. I mean, there's so many ways that you can go, certainly, with this kind of an interest. So thank you for doing that. I'm sure you're sharing that also with your colleagues, and that really is what makes our teaching staff so strong.
Yeah, we're trying to work with the social studies teacher to get the robots to reenact certain battles on a map.
History.
So if you can program to move in the directions of, the north and the south at Gettysburg, you can kind of bring that whole thing alive to kind of cross curriculum that.
Sounds great. Well,
Every school.
please invite us. So we would like to all, I think there aren't as many of us, can we all come up and offer a congratulations and a certificate?
We very much appreciate everything that you're doing and to motivate and keep our students interested and engaged. Well done, very well done.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Thanks, Jake.
Like you said, Superintendent Smith, you never know exactly what it is that later on in life is going to motivate a student to go into a certain direction, and these opportunities are just wonderful, so.
And we need more of them, and that's when we do talk about equity, and you'll hear me talk about it again tonight, when you look at some districts, these are things that they have. Our teachers are writing grants. They're putting themselves out there. So they apply for opportunities to make sure they have additional professional development, meeting with teachers all over the country, putting yourself out there. One of, again, 200, and they select 10. So it's just from 37 states, and these are the things that happen in our districts. So I want to really thank our teachers for doing that, thank especially to Jake, and I'm sure this won't be the last time we hear about Jake. We did have a presentation on our Special Education Parent Advisory Council. And by law, this advisory council is not just a group that meets. By law, they have to advise the school committee at least once a year. So we did have parent Terry McIntosh. She is looking to encourage other parents to go to the CPAC meetings. I know they are advertised on our website. I believe Connect Ed messages go home to our special education parents or anyone who would like to attend. But she will come to the January meeting when we have the full school committee. I think it's important to hear a parent's view on things that they are pleased about with our special education program, and also some of the challenges that they're facing as parents and ways that we can support them. So I've asked her to actually come back to our first meeting in January. As far as a curriculum update, we did a presentation back a couple of weeks ago with the new accountability system, and we talked about 5 turnaround schools. We talked about East Middle School, Plouffe Academy, West Middle School, the Brookfield School, and the George School, also doing some of the similar work that the Known and the Baker has already done. So we are having a meeting on Thursday. I wanted this before the holidays. We'll be working right up until the 21st. And on the 20th, we have DESE coming out. It is their agenda, and it's talking about the levers that are important when you go through a turnaround process. One of the things the schools will be doing is a monitor site visit, where a research group comes in. They ask information from the teachers, from other staff members, from leadership. I actually sit and speak with them. We talk about some of the very things that we talked about that really have provided challenges to our district and ways that we are looking at moving our district forward. So I am very much seeing this as a partnership and getting support. DESE does have at their fingertips, looking at some of the very best curriculum around the state that has worked for our type of population. So those are things that we're already doing, but we welcome them to come in. I'll continue to keep you updated and make that a focus of every one of our meetings. So we will be meeting on the 20th, Thursday. Any questions on that? And also, as far as an advocacy update, which I will keep on the agenda. So this past Thursday, the 13th, I'm losing track of the dates. It's too close to Christmas to try to remember which day is which. But on Thursday, we actually hosted here in Brockton superintendents from Worcester, Brockton, New Bedford, along with our school budget officers. I also had Dr. Cancel and Dr. Sal Tarasi, Deputy Superintendent Mike Thomas. We sat with 3 attorneys from Boston, and we also sat with the researcher from Harvard who is doing some research on our data. and also the consultant that we're working with from MASS Trip Jones. So it was an important meeting. We spent 4 hours, talking about not only the data that our Department of Education collects or data that is out there in the public sphere. We also talked about real kids, real implications about what equity in education really means. So we are moving very quickly. And the thing that I'm also very pleased about on January 8th is a Tuesday evening coming up at the start of the new year. All over the state, you're going to see, and there were a number of us that were present last Worcester, I think it was in March. We ventured out to Worcester with their school committee. Mr. Minicello, you were there, Mr. Gormley, Mr. D'Agostino, Mr. Petronio. Anybody else with us on that trip? So we ended up going out there, and we did at that time the Tale of Two Cities. And what we did was we presented the story of Brockton and the impact and the challenges of some of the recommendations from the Foundation Budget Review Commission that have not been put forward, that have been recommended to look at when you're looking at a broken foundation formula. Worcester did the same thing. It might have been a little bit of a different story, but again, it was the Tale of Two Cities. You know that this past October, we went out to Holyoke and were joined by Springfield. Holyoke, we actually had Chicopee in the audience that night, and again, Worcester and Brockton telling their story. So we are going to, on January 8th, be all, not we are just going to be all over the state, but all over the state you're going to see these presentations. We're actually joining our fellow districts around the Malden area, which will be the Boston contingent, the Reveres, the Everetts, the Chelseas, the Lynns, and we are going to join them to support their presentation to their school committee members, to their community. You're going to see that happening up in Western Central Mass in the Fitchburg area. And you're also going to see it in the southeastern corner with New Bedford and Fall River. So this is the start. Again, we're not waiting for the governor to come forward with his budget. We are going to be talking about the importance of what is happening in our districts and something that they have had certainly in their purview since, I want to say, November of 14, this Foundation Budget Review Commission made strong recommendations about a formula that was broken. It is pretty sad to say that 5 years later, I'm still sitting here talking about the same thing. So we're not going to just remain hopeful. We are going to continue to advocate. We are working very hard to look at op-ed editorials we're going to be sending in. We're looking to speak to radio stations. We're looking to tell our story. So Brockton has always been at the forefront of this. We will continue to do that until every child understands what it's like to have equity in education, that every child understands what it's like to have updated curriculum, making sure that they have the best in science, that they have the best in all of the curriculum that we can offer them so that they have a 21st century education. Because in the end, the winners are our state. When we have workers that are ready to go in and work in a strong economy, it benefits every one of us, whether you're a student from Wellesley or you're a student from Brockton. There are lots of jobs that go unfilled in this state, and again, when you start to tout what a strong economy we have, it starts with our children. So I am very pleased if I look back a year ago as to where we were, even to look back 2 years ago. So, and I'll continue to update you on the January 8th date. Myself, Aldo, I know probably the deputy, we're just starting to talk on the executive team, members that will join us in Malden for that evening. As far as technology goes, I also wanted to update you on the issues we had with the breach in our system and the virus. And again, Dan Vegan, our technology team, we're working with some outside vendors. You know, it really was a huge undertaking. And we're still recovering from it. They're going through every one of the devices and making sure everything is what it needs to be to make sure this virus doesn't happen again. So that is still ongoing. On another happy note, we had the Amazing Educators, and this is an initiative by the Department of Education. And we had 2 of our educators who have been on billboards. You know, you can drive along 93, and there you have Dr. Michael Robinson, our teacher from South Middle School, up on the billboard, or Janine Sorrenti from the George School, another amazing teacher. So they're now going to be on commercials on TV. You're going to see a maze of all of the different teachers, not only in Brockton, but teachers that they've highlighted throughout the state. But we actually have a couple of our teachers that are being highlighted. So keep your eyes out for that. Those are our Brockton teachers. And we have had a really, you know, as always, when you're talking about The holiday season, you know, some wonderful things happened. Last time I was at school committee, we talked about the very successful Jingle Bell Run and the helping hands that the enterprise does every year for needy people in our community. And this year it had a different location. Mr. Minicello, you were there. I know Mr. Sullivan was there. Probably many others were. And it had been held in many other places, but this year it was right on the site of Brockton High School. The walk was around the track. They took a big picture in front of the Rocky statue, and it was one of the most successful helping hands or Jingle Bell Run that we have had. I think it was about over $20,000. Well, we were very excited to be part of that. I think we've actually found a home. And the reason I bring that up is we last night had the dinner for champions. And this is something that we have had for many of our families. Previously, it had been at the Shaw's Center where there was a turkey dinner and gifts. Every child got to pick a gift, whether you were a little child or whether you were teenagers. And it grows bigger and bigger each year. We had when I say fundraiser, we had an event where staff members from the Brockton Public Schools went out for an evening, and the admission to come in was to bring a gift for a child. And we had lots of gifts. We had raffles to support this night. So to go in last night, and remember, we've lost again our Shaw's Center. So to go in last night and to see Brockton High looked like a winter wonderland for kids. You walked in, it was very organized. We used the red cafeteria, the red IRC had all. I wanted to show you a PowerPoint, but again, we're still having difficulty with some of these things. So I'm going to talk it through a little bit. And in the January meeting, I'd love to show you some of the wonderful things that have happened during this holiday season. So last night, every child was able to choose a gift. They had face painting. We had a wonderful opportunity for them to sit with Santa. There was a terrific turkey dinner. Our Chartwells, again, did an excellent job. Our high school students did face painting and cookie decorating and oversaw all of the things that were happening. And you know, it just makes you, I'm so proud of the giving that goes on, you know, with our school community. So I want to thank John Snellgrove and a host of so many other people. I know the mayor this weekend had worked with Brewster Ambulance, and they had a Fill the Ambulance event where people could come, and the mayor said they had thousands of toys. So I believe we do have even some toys that were left over that we will make sure go to our children to make sure everybody's holiday is just a little brighter. So thank you to everybody. We also had our first group of Red Apple Award winners last week here, which are our teachers and our staff members that we honor for their exceptional service to our children and our community. And once again, when I think back a year ago, we started it in here. We had a few families that came, and we now fill that whole choral room. Little children come to see their parents, older parents come to see their adult children. It is probably just one of the most rewarding thing to actually, number one, put our teachers out there and our staff members for their exceptional service to this community. And there are so many wonderful things that they do. They all get the marble red apple, along with Chartwell's putting out some snacks for everybody. You know, pictures were taken, and our own Dr. Claire Appling entertained on the piano beforehand, and she actually was a recipient. We decided after 52 years here, she is emeritus, but she continues to stay very involved in our community and our children, and you would have thought you gave her $1 million. She was thrilled to receive her red apple, and we were pleased to be able to do that. So another wonderful event. I was also informed that St. Anne's Church, which also has always worked with Linda Sandry, a retired Brockton Public School teacher, formerly our math department head, and she works with our Project Grads program, so every one of our teen moms got to take home a goodie bag with toys and pajamas and books and wonderful things for their children this week. So I want to thank Mary Reed and her family that actually delivered the gifts, and we will be getting out a thank you and gratitude to St. Anne's Church, which continues to support us. I also want you to know, and I did bring a picture, so our wonderful attorney, Sarah Catignani Spada, forehead, beautiful Abigail Louise. So Sarah, we're so pleased to welcome Abigail to the Brockton Public School family. I'll have to get her a little boxer sweatshirt. So we are very pleased, and this was on November 15th she was born. It's Jerry's birthday. So I'll pass this around, and again, we're very excited for Sarah. And she will be back with at Murphy, Hesse, Toomey, and Lane sometime after February. So she will be back there. Also, we had a number of our drama students who recently received awards. I want to make sure I have their names right. We have Joey Pulveri and Jade Etienne, and both of them were in the story of the bellhops that we saw just a couple of weekends ago. So there were many participants around the state. Joey placed 4th in the state, and Jade placed 5th in the state. So from Brockton, 2 in the top 5. So this, again, is part of the Massachusetts Acting Monologue Competition. It was held on December 1st at St. John's Prep in Danvers. So both students will be invited to the Massachusetts Educational Theater Guild Gala. So we're very, very pleased with 2 of our students, again, in our drama club. And I think I want to finish up with just reminding everybody that on Thursday this week, and Mr. Minicello, I know you're going to say something to me, but we do have our annual ice cream social, which will take place at our central administration. So we do this every year. We decorate central. We actually have asked artists to come in and to judge. It's looking back on old Brockton. Or, I'm not saying that right. Is it old Brockton? How did we describe it? Brockton of the past. So we're trying to bring historical. So we're trying to bring, that's our door decorating. We have the ice cream social. So back my first year as superintendent, I was so excited to do the ice cream social and to thank everybody. And somehow Peaceful Meadows decided, we thought that somebody else was picking up the ice cream. So Mr. Minicello showed up, and of course there was no ice cream there. But it came.
It came when I went. I couldn't stick around.
Well,
so you owe me an ice cream.
Well, I'm telling you, so this is your opportunity. Yeah. So it'll be this Thursday, and everybody is welcome. And that is my report for the evening. The only other thing I want to talk about is and this I think will have to wait, we would like to schedule a finance subcommittee meeting. I do want to talk about plans that we're looking at for substitute teachers. It has become very difficult to entice, and that might be the sign of a good economy. Many people have opportunities for jobs. And we're looking to take a look at what we're paying our substitutes, and also to look at the possibility of some permanent substitutes from around the district, something that we do at the high school and has worked out well. But we're struggling. We're working with our human resource department to come up with some ideas. So I would like to have a meeting sometime probably mid-January where we can talk about some of our plans as we move forward. And that's it.
Any questions, comments, concerns? Mrs. Sullivan?
Meaning, so when you say that, somebody that is identified and is in the building all the time.
Yeah,
and
every
used when
day.
needed. That is exactly, we do have them at the high school, and it has worked because of the large number of staff members there. In the high school, when you talk about our substitutes, and certainly Dr. Murray could talk about the success of this, you know, they get to know the kids, they know the teachers, you know, they certainly are available to fill those classroom slots. So we're looking at a substitute teacher budget we have and looking to do something similar, especially in our elementary level. You know, it becomes very difficult, and it's not something we want to do, is to put kids in a common area. If we have a number of teachers out, we get hit by flu season like everybody else. So we are trying to minimize teacher absence. We want people to be healthy. We want them to be able to come to work 180 days. You know, that is what we're looking to. That is our goal. Our principals are working with teachers, again, to make sure that that happens. But by the same token, we've got to come up with a better system. So that is what we're looking at. We're also looking at the price that we're paying substitutes and looking at, as you said, building substitutes or people that are designated at certain buildings. At one point, we were talking about quadrants in the city. You know, does it make sense to say this particular quadrant has this number of teachers that maybe we hire full-time? And that would involve benefits, and that would involve, you know, a commitment to these people.
Yeah, because Weymouth Public, they have like a building sub in each building every day.
Yeah, we have that.
If it has a lot of kids, they'll have 2. But of course, you got to give them benefits and everything.
Yeah,
so,
that's
yeah.
the one thing that we would. But
and you got to pay them more, I think, than the regular sub.
Well, those are the discussions I'd like to have. You know, presently, I believe it's $85 a day. And those are for, we have different rates. You've got, you know, long-term subs when somebody might be out with an illness or a maternity leave or something like that. It's a little bit different. So there are different structures. So we can review the structures and maybe talk about what economically makes sense for us to cover these classrooms. These children have to have teachers in front of them.
Okay.
Just on a couple of things that you spoke about, Superintendent Smith. With regard to the team that's in place pursuing our interest with regard to the equity in education lawsuit, I believe that the legislators on Beacon Hill and the governor's office realize what's going on. I mean, they'd have to be tone deaf and blind not to. But we have put together some very competent individuals, lawyers, who are going to be joining in this endeavor. And they are top-notch people from top-notch firms in Boston and doing a lot of the work pro bono. We have, as you mentioned, engaged an individual who is sort of quarterbacking and coordinating everything, basically keeping everything on track, organizing, working with the different communities, the superintendent's organization, the school committees. So things are definitely happening and going in the right direction. So the goal on our end is to continue forward, be prepared to file within a few months or sooner a very competent and comprehensive lawsuit so as to keep the pressure on to make sure that anything that the legislature does is done with the best interests of certainly communities like ours, and so as not to basically just pat us on the head and say, well, we're making some changes that will benefit everyone. Benefiting everyone is great. However, equity to the communities that are, in my opinion, left behind needs to take place. And that's what this mission is all about. That's what this movement is all about. So we will, after the first of the year, have a presentation. I'll arrange to have a presentation so that the school committee and the community is brought current in terms of where we actually are. Right now, things are in the organizing and issue stages, planning, so to speak. So we'll have a more comprehensive presentation so that people know exactly what we're up to and where things are going to be heading. But I can assure you we have some very competent people working for us at this time. And basically this is to make sure that the action is done in an honest way and in a way that adopts the recommendations that, as you mentioned, 5 years ago were made that are just sort of still sitting on the wayside with dust on them, or on that report anyways. That's the first thing. The second thing is I'd just like to thank the Brockton community as a whole for the spirit of basically the holiday season in terms of giving of themselves, giving to different organizations. As you mentioned, the schools do their part. I think the teachers and the staff and the principals and the administration step up. But let's not forget the people of Brockton who also come to all these events and donate, the businesses, the individual people, the Dave Gormans of the world. All of these people in this city help to contribute to making things a little bit better around this time of the year for a lot of needy children. And that's one thing that I think we all can be proud about in terms of the city of Brockton. We've always, we're a blue-collar city. We're a city of immigrants. We've basically, the only thing that sort of changes from year to year and decade to decade is basically where people are coming from. But we're a city of immigrants. And we always step up to the plate. So with all these fine organizations and events, there's a lot of generosity in the city, and I think we all as a community should recognize the people who contribute and help out. So that being said, I just, do we have anything else to cover tonight? No?
I think that's it.
Is there anything else that anyone would like to cover? No?
Oh,
Yeah, well, tonight, this evening, we are going to adjourn from our meeting. I always look forward to the holiday concert. It's a great event. The music is just spectacular. Here in Brockton, we're not afraid to have seasonal music, where other communities sort of shy away from it for whatever reason. But it's a really beautiful night. The songs are gorgeous. The singers, our choirs are off the charts basically every year, and our musicians are phenomenal. I mean, it's just a night always to remember, and every year is as good as the last. So this will be really fun. And what's kind of nice is that a lot of students who have left will be coming back tonight to see their peers. I know a whole bunch of students tonight that are left last year that are going to be out in the audience tonight to see their peers perform and see their instructors. Mr. McCreena, Mr. Cardell, and certainly
Mr. Cunningham.
Mr. Cunningham, yeah. So this will be a nice night. It's going to be a beautiful night of music. So if anyone, we're live, aren't we? So if anyone's out there wants to come, show up tonight for 7 o'clock.
Got 15 minutes.
Till curtain call. So, yeah, and there is a show tomorrow night at 7 o'clock as well. So if you can't get there tonight, get there
I
tomorrow.
think it's a small donation. How much is?
$3 for the ticket, $2 if you want to help out for Helping Hands.
Right. So I think, again, that's a good point. Helping Hands is still going on. You see it in the Enterprise, online, in the paper. They're looking to support our community, so you have plenty of time to still do that, and every little bit helps, every little bit.
Okay. Anything else? Anyone else? No? Okay.
Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and again, thank you to all the parents in the community for all of your support. We hope you have a wonderful holiday season with your families.
Happy New Year. Okay. I guess we'll do a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Thank you for attending. We are adjourned.